Picture the scene. I am on the Eurostar train coming back from a lovely weekend at the Pride event in Disneyland Paris. I am dressed like the Disney Princess Diana. I am realising I have mild to troubling levels of sunburn, and I start to get a bunch of messages telling me I need to watch the curtain call video from the final performance of Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cinderella in the West End and talk about it on YouTube. At this point I'm under the channel, which I assume qualifies as international waters. I can't even load this video, let alone get to a camera and film my reaction to something I don't yet know about, but once again it is a controversy from this show that I officially thought I was done talking about on YouTube. Turns out, no. So to walk you up to this point, here is what I already know. Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cinderella is closing today in the West End because he is throwing a tantrum about the entire thing. The show is also hemorrhaging money because it's wildly expensive and it has a cast of 50,000 people. So today is the closing performance. Andrew Lloyd Webber is already having something of a backlash because of the way that the closing was announced. It was announced rather unceremoniously on social media, and the cast who were meant to be going into the show found out they weren't going to have job security for the next year and that they were being fired from the show and their contracts were being torn up without any warning. Previously to this, there was another controversy where Andrew had called the cast up from his holiday home in Europe to lambast them for not performing to the standards to which he would like them to. So my friend Sean Tossell, aka Theatre Fan, who you must be following on Twitter for all of the exciting theatre news, rumours and gossip, was at the closing performance, sat in the front row because of course he was, and he has uploaded the footage to social media. So I'm going to have a watch now. I have heard some of the things that were said in the video, I've watched snippets of it, but I haven't actually watched the full thing. So Victoria Hamilton Barritt spoke first to shout out Lawrence Connor, the director, who then came on stage holding a microphone and a piece of paper, filling me with anxiety.
Wow, it's I can't really speak. What I'll say is, yes, it's been an incredible year, and it's been a roller coaster, I think, for all of us, because, you know, and when you create a show, normally there's a sort of procedure, quite a long road that you sort of follow. The sort of standard way is to do like reading, see if it works, then sort of take it to the next stage, do a little workshop, maybe do it out of town, and then sort of come to a big venue like the West End. We sort of skipped the first 3 parts of that and went straight to the West End.
Funny a line as that is, I'm here to fact check you, because Cinderella had a workshop, presumably had readings before it had a workshop, but it had a workshop presentation at the Other Palace years ago. Carrie Fletcher was sharing Cinderella memories on her Instagram story in advance of the final performance this afternoon, and she shared a picture from that workshop presentation. I have seen the cast list from the workshop presentation. Dan Buckley was in it, Johnny Fiennes was in it. A workshop happened, so that was just a falsehood told by Lawrence Connor there. They didn't do an out-of-town run, fair enough, but they did a workshop. They did do a workshop.
And it was sort of, you know, an incredible journey for us. And we didn't do it in a rehearsal room, we did it on this very, very stage. And the very first day of rehearsals, we were in little boxes and masks on, and we didn't know the rules, and we didn't know what we were going to do, and we really didn't know what we were going to create.
Something makes me very nervous about the fact that this was like rehearsals happening in the midst of COVID, and they said they had masks on, and he also said at the same time we didn't know the rules. Someone should definitely have known the rules about what was going on at that point, but I'm hoping that he misspoke here.
But, you know, as a director, you really can only be as good as the incredible people that you work with, and
he's shouting out the cast. We love to hear that. In all of the videos that I have put on my channel, I have made it very clear throughout this, the cast of this show are spectacular, spectacular talents. Everyone in this cast, it has just been stacked every time I've been to see this show.
When you have a cast as amazing as this one, your job is really easy. And I have to say that this journey really couldn't have happened without these amazing people. They really are. Because we've seen Carrie, as an amazing leader of this company, can I just not just to have Carrie, but also to have the wonderful Georgina, who has been...
I love that. So he's shouting out Carrie Hope Fletcher, leading lady, undisputed leader emotionally and physically of the show, and then also Georgina, who has been alternate Cinderella, who has performed the role a bunch of times as well. Love that he included her in that moment. Too often, understudies and alternates of the West End are overlooked.
But to make a show isn't just about a cast, it's an army of amazing people, right back down to the crew who are all hiding back there, who are to our dressers. It's like there's a whole bunch of unsung heroes that stand behind the set and who lift us up every single day and make us...
Talking now about the unsung heroes of theatre making, the crew, the creative team, all of the staff at the theatre. Again, loving that Lawrence Connor is including this. I know for a fact that there are more negative parts of this to come, so I'm just getting more and more nervous. But so far it's going well.
Make us as good as we are, and we have to give thanks to those people. Unfortunately, I am the only creative here today, unfortunately, so, but I wanted to say that I've spoken to everybody, and Joanne, who would have absolutely loved to...
Something just got yelled. I can't hear what it was that got yelled, but when he said he's the only creative here today, I'm going back to hear what that was again.
Unfortunately, I am the only creative here today, unfortunately, so, but I wanted to say that I've spoken to everybody, and Joanne, who would have absolutely...
It sounded like some little boos, and definitely something got yelled in the audience when he pointed out he was the only creative here. So the conspicuous absence is obviously that's the moment people found out Andrew Lloyd Webber would not be appearing for the final performance curtain call, that he hadn't showed up, essentially. I don't even know if he's in the country.
She would be in bits right now watching that. But Andrew asked me if I would read a letter that he sent. Now, be nice.
Okay, Lawrence Connor is doing an excellent job of trying to keep the tone light and light-hearted here, but he has just announced he has a letter from Andrew Lloyd Webber, and that has been met with enormous boos from throughout the audience, and frankly, who can blame them?
I am hugely sorry not to be able to be with you today, but I want to thank everyone from our fabulous cast, crew and musicians, the superb creative team, Lawrence, that's me, Joanne.
Why do I feel like that's the last time the cast are going to get mentioned?
Emerald, David, Gabriella, Gareth and Bruno. Everyone who works in Really Useful, and the gym.
Carrie is side-eyeing Victoria Hamilton Barritt so hard right now to see how she's going to react to this. This cast are palpably nervous to hear what this letter actually says. They know this is not going to be the warm, lovely response that they are hoping for.
I once wrote a song with the late, great Jim Steinman. Jim? Clearly I'm getting ready for a party. I keep thinking, if only we had opened 3 months...
What does that have to do with anything? I'm sorry, is there a point going to come of that, or does that have nothing to do with anything?
We wouldn't have had to postpone our opening twice because of COVID. If only we hadn't had to close for a month over Christmas and New Year. Once
a lot of shows had to close over Christmas and New Year. They're still here.
Again, thanks to COVID. And if only we had had crumb of help from the Recovery Fund, I promise you we would have been here for a very long time to come.
Okay, a show's lifespan being mitigated and extended by a government grant, albeit a necessary government grant, given the financial atrocities of the pandemic, is not a solution for a show that clearly was not marketing itself well enough to connect with an audience. If audiences were there, the show would still be running. The show has closed because audiences are not there, and Andrew Lloyd Webber finds the entire thing embarrassing as a concept. So the fact that the government did not give him money to keep the show running is not really a fantastic excuse, because that was only ever going to be a stopgap.
Anyway, my huge thanks to everyone. We kept the government's feet to the flame and led the charge to the West End opening again.
Okay, again, this whole thing of Andrew Lloyd Webber being the person who led the charge of the West End reopening is just a falsehood. So many other producers, so many other theatre makers did so much more for the industry's resurgence, the industry's regrowth, and to nurture and support each other throughout this entire time than Andrew Lloyd Webber, whose only interest was ever the financial viability and success of his new show. If he had not been writing Cinderella, he would not have been nearly as involved as he was with the reopening of West End theatres. I'm sorry, but that's just exactly how it is.
It might have been a costly mistake, but I am proud of what we did and will forever...
You can hear the reaction to that, and you can see the reaction to that from the cast. Is that Vinnie Coyle, whose eyes just closed on that? He just said it might have been a costly mistake. He has just characterised the show as a costly mistake. And this is the thing that is really hitting on social media. I've heard this a few times, the show being called a costly mistake. That has to hurt if you're a cast member of this show. He gave them the briefest thanks at the beginning and then referred to the entire show that they have been working tirelessly to perform. You know, when he writes it, it's done. That's over. He disappears off to one of the other many mansions that he lives in because he's a millionaire. They are the ones working tirelessly throughout COVID, throughout all of this, to put the show on, to keep delivering it. They have really been carrying this show and bringing it to life and trying to believe in it despite everything. Cast members exchanging looks. Carrie Hope Fletcher smiling through resentment is the only way I could describe how her face looks right now. She is just... My interpretation of her face right now is that she's very unsurprised to hear this, but it's just confirming everything that she thought she already knew. Laura Baldwin is looking shocked, looking left and right down the line. We have cast members exchanging glances and just a lot of shock and upset on that stage.
It's of my career, and I am immensely proud of it, and it's hugely due to you all. All my love, Andrew.
And then more booing in response to the end of the letter. No applause for that whatsoever for the composer, Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber. The cast did not applaud on stage. The cast are now smiling and laughing at the reaction of booing to the letter. The show has just been called a costly mistake. I can't even wrap my head around all of this.
Honestly, I just want to say, it's really easy to find a villain in these things. And Andrew's going through a lot. I will say to you all that it's easy to sort of see things from the outside.
Was Lawrence Connor about to say Andrew is going through some things? I am fascinated to know what is going on, what he was about to divulge there.
Well, what I will say is that there's a lot of people who have tirelessly done a lot of great work on this show. And what I feel about this production is that we've created something really special. And on this day, watching that final performance with everybody, that's how I want us to go. So, is the hardest thing in the world, and creating it in these circumstances is even harder. We led the way, we created a show that we can be really proud of, and whilst this probably isn't...
Gosh, this is a very bizarre mood that this has shifted to on stage. Victoria Hamilton Barritt and Carrie Hope Fletcher are wiping away tears while looking very stern. This cast are being consoled in a very bizarre way. This is not a happy closing. This is not a normal closing. This is not even a closing that you can take some joy out of. The whole thing is very difficult and has only been made worse by that letter from Andrew Lloyd Webber and by that little sentence. I'm not even going to watch the rest because it's just more of the same. Lawrence Connor is doing his best to try and be diplomatic about this entire thing, to try and be supportive of the cast, but still advocating for his collaborator, Andrew Lloyd Webber. But it was just such an unnecessary thing, and rightly so. Andrew is very much being called out on social media for the cowardice of not even turning up to the final performance. If you're going to advocate for this show's reopening so strongly, remember the time when he said he was going to go to jail? He was willing to be arrested for opening this show. That's how strongly he believed in Cinderella, but he won't go to the closing performance. Was Lawrence Connor about to tell us that something deeply personal is going on with Andrew Lloyd Webber? I mean, I for years have heard rumours I could speculate about that might provide something to that conversation, but I don't know enough with any kind of authority to actually talk about that. I could certainly theorise it, however, but the whole thing was just an unnecessary statement. The fact he thought he needed to provide any kind of a statement at all if he wasn't going to attend the closing performance. If I was Lawrence Connor, I would have read that beforehand and called Andrew and just explained to him that it was not beneficial whatsoever. I think the whole thing would have been better if they could have got through that final performance and that curtain call speech without even mentioning his name. Obviously it was this significant elephant in the room, but by acknowledging it and by hearing from him, it just made for a very awkward situation for the cast on stage. And while I'm glad that the cast got to feel the support of the audience booing Andrew Lloyd Webber and clearly supporting the cast, it was still a needlessly difficult situation to end up in, and I really feel for all of them who were put in that position. And have been put in that position for however many months performing this show. You can only infer and assume from what the cast have been subtly suggesting on social media that this is the latest in a string of examples of behaviour like this for months. So what do I think about all of this? What do I think that hasn't been said? I wrote a little something on the train, and I would like to read that now. This is me reading my prepared statement, but I'm not going to make anyone cry. And Rebecca Trehearn, sadly, is not standing behind me. My thoughts are with the astonishingly talented and woefully maligned cast of Cinderella today, as the show has played its final performance at the Gillian Lynne Theatre in the West End. I've talked about this show on YouTube perhaps more than any other, this is true. I've made so many videos about this one. Before it opened, during its rehearsal period, after its press night, and subsequently after attending twice more. I've seen the show 3 times in total, I paid for it twice. While my opinions on the show may not have brought it any success or earned it potential new audiences, I have never borne anyone involved in the production any ill will, and any closing announcement is always a sad one. I mean that very sincerely. That Andrew Lloyd Webber considers the show to have been a costly mistake has everything to do with his own creative short-sightedness and stubborn collaborative obstinacy, and nothing to do with the immense talent of the cast. And I've been very clear on that throughout, because people have been speaking to me for months about my feelings on Cinderella. I feel like to a certain extent, I kind of, as far as YouTube was concerned, became synonymous with disliking this show. A lot of times in the past year, I have felt like the public face of disliking Cinderella in the West End, even though it is very much not just me. I've heard from a lot of other audience members, industry professionals, creatives, and critics who did not like this show whatsoever. But because I am the one who put out the videos on YouTube saying, here is everything that's wrong with this show, I feel like I deliberately associated myself with that to a certain extent. And so I've wanted to be clear throughout all of this. I believe in the talent of this cast so strongly. At no point throughout this have I ever faulted the talent of anyone in the cast. And I have seen so many covers on throughout the versions of this show that I have seen, throughout all of the performances I've seen. I have seen so much talent in the ensemble, in principal roles, understudies. Every time I've seen this show, it has been hugely talented performers on stage. Something really interesting that got tweeted before today's final performance is today's was actually the first time the show has ever been performed with the full company, and that means all of the principals, all of the ensemble on stage, and none of the swings performing. Now, a swing covers an ensemble track when an ensemble member is out, so someone like Lauren Stroud, who is a swing on the production, has been on for so many performances because they've constantly been doing cut shows and covering for missing ensemble members. Every time I've seen this show, the ensemble has looked completely different, and I've been so confused. And this does show you that the show has been very heavily impacted by COVID and other cast illness. Whether other circumstances have also affected cast morale and the willingness of performers to keep doing this show 8 times a week without calling out may also be a conversation worth having. Understandably, the backlash to Andrew Lloyd Webber is only growing as a result of this, and while I'm not against that to a certain extent, and I would encourage anyone to, advocate for the cast who I do feel have been very heavily maligned here, this is nothing new, and I don't know why everyone's acting completely brand new about these Andrew Lloyd Webber revelations. I have been talking about this for a very long time on my channel. Andrew Lloyd Webber has for a very long time been associated and been synonymous with a lot of very negative behaviour towards individuals in the West End. It's been going on since the 90s, at least. The way I characterised him in my statement just now as being incredibly stubborn and obstinate when it comes to creative collaboration is the way I would summarise this man in general from everything that I have heard, from everything that we know to be true about his previous projects. It's that stubbornness that has negatively impacted this show that has prevented him from taking on notes and criticism and being receptive to it. Now, all of this obviously is just my inferences based on understanding of other situations and things that we have witnessed before and the little we know about this situation without actually being in the rehearsal room. So this is just conjecture to a certain extent. But hopefully this is also the last time I will have to talk about Cinderella on my channel, because the saga has officially ended. This has been the closing performance. Do I expect the show to tour the UK? Not especially. Do I expect the show to actually make the Broadway run that was being talked about? Not at all. I think any reference to the show's aspirational Broadway run in the closing announcement was only to soften the blow of a West End closing and to make it look like less of an embarrassment and less of a blow to Andrew Lloyd Webber's fragile millionaire ego. So right now, all we really have to look forward to is the other projects that these talented and patient performers will be going into next. Carrie Hope Fletcher has been teasing on Instagram she already has another show lined up. Several performers were due to be leaving this show for other projects. I know Laura Baldwin is going into Half a Sixpence. There are various shows you will see these cast members in. Rebecca Trehearn, I'm hoping, will be in something very soon. Victoria Hamilton Barritt. All of the talented people in this cast all deserve enormous opportunities. They are phenomenal talents and seem like really nice people. I wish nothing but success and closure for all of them. Let me know your thoughts on all of this down in the comments section. There's definitely more to say about this topic, but I am exhausted and radiating heat from the burns on the side of my face. So I'm going to finish this one here and let you all debate about it beneath. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, if that is the right word. I hope that this helped explain a potentially confusing situation. If you want to know more about how Cinderella has got to this point, there are lots of videos on my channel about my apprehensiveness in the run-up to the show, about some confusion about the show's casting, about how high-profile performers may have dropped out during the rehearsal period, my reaction to the show's opening night, my press night review, and then follow-up videos about my dislike of the show, the flaws that I considered it to have, and then a more recent video about the show's controversial closing announcement. Today feels like the last chapter in that story, but who can say, because I thought I had already closed this book, and yet here we are. If you want to make sure that you do not miss all of the other stagey content coming very soon on my channel, because this is Tony Awards weekend and I had lots of other more exciting, more positive videos planned, make sure you subscribe. I am Mickey Jo Theatre, here to bring you all of the stagey goodness. Also, if you want to support me as a stagey content creator, head over to patreon.com/Mickey Jo Theatre, where you can gain access to exclusive photo and video content. I hope that everyone is staying safe and that you have a stagey day.
For 10 more seconds, I'm Mickey Jo Theatre. Oh my god, hey, thanks for watching, have a stagey day. Subscribe!